Hello everybody, Father Scott Vanderveer here with a final installment in our series on the season of creation. Today I'd like to tell you a story about the way we sometimes treat the mysteries of the universe. When I was a seminarian, I was assigned for a time to initiate two teenage boys into the Catholic faith. They were people who came from a Catholic family, but whose parents had never had them baptized. And their parents later regretted that decision and asked if someone in the parish could take them through a process of preparing for full initiation in the Catholic Church. It's the kind of process that we now know as OCIA, but it needed to be tailored to two teenage boys that wouldn't have done well in a more formal setting with adults. They needed something a little bit tailored to them. And so I was recruited as the seminarian who was older than they, but not by so much, to initiate them in this faith. I was given every Sunday an hour of their time for 9 months. It was a long time and a long journey. It was something that I look back on with fondness. But I ran into speed bumps along the way. There were roadblocks, as you probably aren't surprised in a task like that. And I found that there was a period of time in the winter of their year of formation where they were really losing interest. They were getting tired. They were starting to lose focus. And they were getting less interested in the topics we were talking about. And I thought, I'm going to need to jumpstart their interest in this because, after all, faith is the most important, most life-giving thing in the world. And if I'm not communicating it in a way that excites them, it means I'm missing an opportunity. I'm missing the boat. So I found out that something that interested them was the cosmos, a good thing to be interested in. And I realized that maybe something I could do that would be helpful would be to get data from NASA, maybe pictures from the Hubble Space Telescope. At the time, the Webb telescope wasn't launched yet. I thought maybe I can find what are some of the cutting edge discoveries of the scientists at NASA and use that to hook these kids into being excited about what faith is all about. Because after all, the mysteries of the universe are at the heart of what faith is. I remember that at the time, the Hubble telescope was locating the best leads we had ever had thus far on where else there might be intelligent life in the universe. There was some theories on where there might be planets that had what it took to support life. And they were realizing that they needed to have carbon, they needed to have breathable air, they needed to have a temperature that was appropriate for life, so maybe about the same distance from their star or their sun as we are from ours. And they had found a couple of contenders, but one of them was most in the lead. It was a planet whose name I don't remember, Kepler something or else, or Omicron something or else. I really don't recall. But it was fascinating because it was 13 million light years away. It was, the distance right there, just pause and think about that. It would take light 13 million years traveling at the speed of light to get there. Imagine, it's just unthinkable that something could be so far away and yet visible. How vast is this universe? So it was that far, and it was about the same distance from its sun as we are from ours, which suggested that it probably had what it took to support life on that planet. They determined that it had a carbon base, but remarkably, the planet was larger than ours. It was quite a bit larger than the Earth was, and it was made in its core of a solid diamond. So I told these boys this. I told them about its distance from us. I told us about the fact that it was based with carbon, that it was as close to its sun as we were to ours, making it perhaps habitable because of the temperature and the climate that it might have. And I told them that this planet, which is bigger than ours, was made of a solid diamond. And I said to them, what an amazing thing to reveal God to us. The fact that God's creativity is so great, that God could create a planet so many millions of light years away that is made of a solid diamond. And one boy looked at the other boy and said, it's made of a solid diamond. We should go get it. And I remember smiling and saying to them, if we got it, where would we put it? If you had a solid diamond bigger than the earth, where would you put it? In your backyard? It's bigger than the earth. Would you tie a string to it and haul it in? It's bigger than the earth. When these boys heard that there was something that big made of a diamond, they were thinking, how can I get the value of that? And that's why I'm telling you this story. It's a sweet story, it's a funny story, it's a charming story, it's a human story, but it's also a story that highlights just how we treat the cosmos. If we think that something has value, we want it. We want to find out how it can serve us rather than how we can serve it. Instead of saying, wow, God is so great. How in the world could there be something so magnificent in this cosmos so far away, revealing such creative beauty? Instead, we were thinking, how can we get a hammer and a chisel and break it apart and sell it and make a ton of money? That right there is the heart of why the earth is struggling. Because we are awfully interested in how the earth can serve us instead of how we can serve the earth. We don't see it as a home that we need to take care of. We see it more as a collection of resources that can be used. We find this sometimes when we're having negotiations between nations. Nations will say things like, we'll do right by you, we'll protect you, or we'll provide some sort of benefit to you if you give us your minerals, if you give us your gold in your mountains, your rocks, your oil under your sand. If you give that to us, then we'll do something good for you. But if you don't, we don't see your land as being useful. That is a human thing, to want to take the earth as if it is a resource and not a living place of wonder. I don't want to sound too grouchy about that. That's human. I'm human, you're human, we're all human. But it's not something to be proud of. And it's not something that we should indulge. And we have to admit that once we know about this tendency in ourselves, we can't unknow it. We're responsible for realizing it. We're responsible for realizing that we have sometimes treated the earth as a vending machine, as a soft serve ice cream machine where we pull the handle and put our dish under the spout, taking whatever we want, and perhaps leaving behind wreckage. I'm not thinking of anything specific right now. It's a generic and general and universal human quality that we'd like to turn things into resources that we can use to become more comfortable, richer, more abundant. And those are all natural things. But there comes a time when we must do the housekeeping that is required. And the earth is our home. and it must be cared for. And everyone needs to not just keep going to the refrigerator and the washing machine of the home and using it until it's broken and depleted. We need to do our chores, to take care of it, to mop the floors, to fluff the pillows, to empty the garbage, to find ways to not let the garbage pile up so high and make us unhealthy. There's no such thing as throwing garbage away because there's no away. The earth is our home. If we put it on a mountaintop, we haven't gotten rid of it. It's still on our home. If we bury it in the ground, it's buried in our home. If we put it in the ocean, it's floating in our home. So what is needed in the season of creation is more reverence, more wonder and awe at the beauty of this land and of the wonders of creation. We need to be filled with reverence and love for God and for all that God has created. Thank you for being on this journey with me. May God bless you all.